This technology leader is helping businesses transform their ideas into reality. As the director of growth at Imaginovation, he is a trusted voice in digital transformation and strategic planning. Put your hands together for Eric Lawrence.
I got it working. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see everybody here. And really, I think this has been fascinating so far because I've had the chance to speak with, a good number of people here. And I think everybody comes from different backgrounds when it comes to experience and expertise with AI. And today, I want to take it from maybe more of a development standpoint. For a lot of businesses out there, they're thinking about, well, how can I be using AI, maybe not just for myself, but for the organization as a whole? How can I integrate that into what I'm doing? Should I take ownership of it? Should I use something that somebody else has created for me? So that's really what I want to dive into today. And I'm also impressed that they got the name of our company right, Imaginovation. I hear all sorts of things, but really the company itself came from when our co-founder was taking a shower and had a shower idea where they said, what if we take imagination and innovation and smush the two of those together? So just a little bit about myself. I am homegrown from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. A fun fact about me is even though I was raised in Chapel Hill, I am a diehard Duke fan. So it wasn't easy, I'll tell you that much. Every single time Duke lost a game, I heard it from everybody. So I like to think it made me stronger. But anyways, my background, it's a large part digital marketing, but more recently, since I joined Imaginovation about 3 years ago, it has to do with custom software. That could come in the form of a simple website to a more complex web platform, or maybe even a mobile app. But that's really what it is that Imaginovation does, and I'll touch on that in a second, but I want to at least kind of highlight the things that I want to go through with you guys today. It may not take the full hour, and if it doesn't, then you guys get a little bit of time back for yourself. But really starting with the current state of AI, it's been covered a good part today, but want to add my own 2 cents to that. And then talk a little bit from a software standpoint as an existing business, the fork in the road that I think a lot of businesses are having to think about. What is that fork in the road? And when you hit that, what are going to be some of those questions that you need to ask yourself to figure out, do you take the blue pill or do you take the red pill? Some of the things that are later on are just how we as an organization leverage AI. How do I leverage it personally? And then I am on ground zero. So as the director of growth, I man the phones. We're about a 30-man operation. Most of that goes towards development. So I hear a lot of ideas. A lot of people call. Some of them are amazing ideas. I'll give you an example of somebody called about wanting to build a pantry management application where they would be able to leverage AI. And when we were doing our research, and I think Jason may have brought it up before, the vision for OpenAI, that is so powerful. We were testing that ourselves. And what I found is in my pantry, when I opened it up and I just held my phone up and it looked in my pantry, not only did OpenAI see what I had and told me, hey, you have a quantity of this and that, but it could even look at it and say, that's rigatoni pasta. And I'm like, that's next level. So being able to use AI in crazy different ways, whether as an existing business, creating your own SaaS platform, your own startup. And there's some ideas that I hear that maybe be a little bit more difficult to monetize. There's somebody that called the other week that wanted to figure out, hey, what's an app for me to find the nearest truck stop bathroom? And that may not be that great because you have Google Maps. So that's why it's important to talk these things through. Every idea, there's a way to monetize it, but is it going to be good for you? And then the last piece is just talking about what are some immediate actions that you can take right now to take advantage of this. So who is Imaginovation? Again, our company, we've been around for a little over 13 years. The idea is that we can custom develop web and mobile applications as well as platforms. And again, this could be for businesses as large as Nestle and MetLife to many different startups, because really it's broken into 2 camps. there are the entrepreneurs of the world that have the next great idea that they need to build from the ground up, and it's very much a SaaS platform that we would build for them. And then there are the existing businesses that identify there are things that they can do to make their business more efficient. And what they need is maybe something more along the lines of digitizing manual processes or doing some sort of digital transformation. So between the two of those, that's really what we focus on. So the first piece is talking about where are we in the current landscape? What do we see? And I don't think these numbers are going to surprise anybody here. And I think the fact that you showed up today shows that you care enough about AI to go out of your way and learn about it. But I would say that the average person in this room is different from everybody as a whole. But I think what we see here is that it is rapidly increasing. You could see, as of last year, 65% of organizations report regular use of generative AI. So most businesses are on it. And I did a presentation on AI at a manufacturing conference the year before, around the same time, and it was much lower. So I think this past year, everybody kind of woke up to it if they hadn't already, and more people are using it, and I would expect this to be way higher next year. The other thing is, for the businesses that do use it, employees do mention that they have seen an increase in productivity. AI is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the boring work for them. So I think the big takeaway here is that like AI is accessible for everyone at this point. So I think what we've learned a lot throughout the day is, okay, well, how can I integrate it into what I'm currently doing? But this is more from an organizational standpoint. If you're looking to bring AI into your entire organization, how do you go about doing that? So some of the core capabilities of AI, you can see here on this list, the main ones, we're going to just quickly touch on it. Being able to learn from data, being able to do problem solving. You see here the visual content, being able to identify objects and reach conclusions. And then the language understanding. We've talked a lot about chatbots today. So those are some of the core capabilities, but what we've been seeing, at least from the marketing standpoint of things, is that AI by big companies are being used right now to try to personalize their experience as much as possible to as many people as they can. And I think a good example is Netflix. They have their AI algorithm that's basically able to latch on and figure out what shows, what TV shows, what movies you really like to keep you hooked on the platform. And I believe that the CEO even said, when somebody asked, well, Netflix, what's their biggest competitor? He said, sleep. It's not even another company. It's the fact that he's fighting against sleep to capture people's attention. Sephora is another one that's really good because they have a color IQ. Sephora is one where they have a database of about 10,000 different skin tones, and they're able to, if you provide them with images of yourself, match you with the right foundation or whatever kind of makeup that matches their assigned number to you of your skin tone. So that's another AI example that companies use, but I want to open it up to anybody else here. Has there been a company that you guys have followed that's been using AI in an interesting way? I saw a lot of backlash on that one. That was interesting. I think that's going to open us up to like a bigger conversation because by and large, most people here can look at something and know if it's AI generated. So I think on the creative side, it'll be interesting to see how accepting the population is of just AI content as time goes on. I think by and large, Coke faced a backlash there, but I mean, like from marketing courses, Coke is no stranger to backlash. Like when they introduced their new Coke flavor, everybody hated it. And then they said, okay, we're getting rid of that. We're bringing back the new Coke, and sales shot up so much that they ended up winning out of that situation. So it's interesting. So the large language models, they are here. Really, we're at a perfect time in AI where we're sitting on the shoulders of giants. Before, it would be nearly impossible to do things with AI or incorporate it into your business because there was just so much money that it would take to figure it out. But really, we're benefiting from the things that are out there already to incorporate into our own business. So anytime somebody reaches out to us that says, hey, I have a SaaS model that I'm thinking about, I want to be able to build it, and I want AI to be a part of it. I'd say it's probably 50% of the conversations I have at this point for somebody that has a new idea. We're never going to create this. We can always just use this, use what's been done to build something powerful. So I think it's more than accessible for almost every company. So the big fork in the road that companies face where they start thinking about which direction do I want to go? Should I build my own AI platform? Or should I, as an organization, use a SaaS platform that's already out there? So what I want to do is speak towards that process. What do you need to start asking yourself to think about which path you want to take? And I guess just by a show of hands, how many people in here are a part of a company that are actively thinking about this decision right now? We've got one. So it seems like maybe this is something that people aren't quite thinking about, but I do know for a lot of organizations, they do hit this fork in the road where they really need to start thinking about, hey, I have my data. It's critical for me. I need to keep ownership of it. I'd prefer not to just ship it out to another company. How can I maintain that? So the first piece to talk about is business needs. First off, what is the problem that you're trying to solve with AI? How does that fit into it? Do you need something that is customized to you? Or is there something that's out of the box that you can use? And how critical is it from a long-term perspective that this AI live on top of your platform versus you're okay with going elsewhere or trying to integrate a different platform into the tools that you already use? The next piece, and this is usually number one for a lot of people, is what is the cost associated with it? If I'm going to use another SaaS platform out there, is that going to be great for me from a cost standpoint? Or if I build my own, do I have the investment right now to build it? And if I were to white label this, because I've identified a gap in the market and I know the AI that I can use in this way could be sold to everybody else within my industry, could I actually be making more money by doing it myself and then selling it to others? The time to value. So how quickly can I get this set up in my organization versus if I were to build it, how long would it take to build for me and how long would it take to train? And then data ownership. This is a key piece that we see with a lot of people. A big reason why people want to create their own platform is because they have all of this data available for them internally. There was somebody that called who was a part of an MLS team, and that MLS team, they have all of those wearable devices that the players use. They're able to basically have this archive of video from practice, from games. They have all of that data available to them, and they're thinking about ways from an AI perspective to get better with training, to better engage with fans. And for them, data ownership was critical. They said, we don't want to just ship this out to another company for them to have our data and us to not be able to really take ownership of it. So for somebody like that, that's going to be key to be able to have that ownership versus for somebody else, they just say, hey, I don't really care if it's on our platform or somewhere else. We're good with using somebody else. Customization and flexibility is another one. So again, if you are bringing AI into your own platform, into your own ecosystem, that gives you the flexibility as your business adapts and changes to adapt with it. So you have that control, you have that ownership versus, let's say you were to use another SaaS platform and over time you're like, man, I really wish it had this functionality. And the best you can do is just kind of knock on that company's door and say, hey, can you guys do this? Maybe they can if you're a big enough client, but maybe it gets ignored. And then scalability and growth. How capable is it that AI can scale with your organization? What's going to be the best case there? So the last piece here is integrating with existing systems. And this one is key. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. I feel with AI, a lot of times people view it like shopping at the grocery store where they're walking down the aisle and they're like, oh, this seems interesting. Let me take this down. And they don't think about the legwork that it takes for any of these models to work effectively within their organization. And that's what this piece is about, is how well will it play with others within your system. So the big takeaway is when you reach this place, if you're looking to build your own platform, the key here is customization, control, and having a long-term competitive impact. To be able to say to everybody else in the industry, we have our own proprietary AI model. And that's what you'll see with any company that says, we have our own proprietary AI. Really, it's not that they've created their own AI, it's that they've been able to integrate AI into their existing systems. So it is proprietary to them, it pulls from their data, versus if you're going more for the other side, which is using an AI SaaS platform, that's great too. It's excellent when it comes to speed, making it cost efficient, and for a lot of those, being able to scale over time. So I want to talk a little bit about what we at Imaginovation do when it comes to AI. And I would say where we are as an organization, for us, we actually go more towards the SaaS platform. And from a sales standpoint, there's a universal sort of truth when it comes to sales that if somebody is going to buy from your organization, they have to like you, the salesperson, they have to like the company, and they have to like the product or service that you're selling. So from a sales standpoint, AI helps us to like, ideally, me as the individual, and what I use is Fathom. Fathom's a lot like Otter in that what it does is it jumps on, it takes notes during meetings, and it's integrated into HubSpot. So anytime I speak with someone, before I was maybe 80% present in conversation, but when it's recording for me, I don't have to take notes down. I can be engaged with the person in the moment and really seek to understand and be in their shoes. And what it ends up doing is once I'm done with that conversation, it automatically goes into our CRM, and I'm able to then share the recording of the meeting with them afterwards. And that, I know. There are actually some people, it's always good to at least ask when you get on a call, like, hey, is it cool if I let this thing in there? Because every time you're on one of those calls and you hear the bloop, people are like, who just joined? So yeah, it's good to at least double check and make sure people are okay with you including something like that in there. And then for HubSpot, HubSpot recently launched AI, which, I mean, there's a lot of automation in HubSpot already that's more on the marketing side, but with AI in the HubSpot side of things, what they've been doing is helping to engage and use context clues based on past history that a prospect has had within your funnel and be able to customize your own sort of sales approach to it. So this is still kind of cutting edge, but it's showing a lot of promise. From the marketing standpoint, this is more about making sure if somebody's engaging with us that they like us as an organization. One of the things that we use is Postwise. And does anybody else here, have they heard of Postwise? That one is more for social media content creation. And that's where you feed into their system, hey, this is all that we do. These are the sort of topics that we like to talk about. These are the sort of people that we like to engage with. And it automatically creates different posts that you can put out there. A fair warning is that if you just set it and forget about it, your posts will sound very similar very quickly. So you always want to be changing this up. But usually what our team does at times is when they do post, they get a good amount of prompts for a week or so, and then they revise it. And then Ulink is something, it's kind of similar to what Scott mentioned earlier, where there was a LinkedIn, almost like a bot that would connect with a lot of people. Ulink is a little different in that it does that, but it also lets us be able to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator lists of prospects to be able to go after and then have kind of a series of messages. And what this does is kind of like throwing a bunch of reels into the water. And not everybody would resonate with it, but for the ones that it does, where they're in the market considering something that we might do, if they seem interested, that's when the human touch comes into play. And that's where one of our people jumps in and talks with them. And then the last piece, just increasing the value of the service. Our team does use ChatGPT, OpenAI. I would say probably 50% of what we do is done through ChatGPT at this point. There may come a case where 3 years down the road, you can build your own software entirely and your own app entirely through AI. But again, it's still at the point where you need to be able to guide it effectively. If you try to build your own app a lot of the times, and it's beyond just a low or no code solution, so that's kind of like the Wix of app development, it can only go so far without the right guidance. How do I use AI? And I know this is a terrifying image of an AI kid right out of college, but really the way that I view this is I use AI like a 21-year-old grad student. And that's where I'm able to use them to, if I'm writing an email, send it to them to grammar check it for me. I use it for idea creation. If I'm thinking through something, or if I'm looking to put together a sales forecast, I use it to help me create charts, make sense of what channels are working well for me, think about even topics like what should I talk about at a conference. So this is something that's used just to be able to bounce ideas off of, but there's so much more that I feel like it's being able to do for me over time. But it really is a matter of, it's like your personal assistant, so you can treat it that way. So getting into the AI paradox, this is going back to the grocery store analogy that I have, and I actually have another one that I feel like I can use, where it comes down to, so many people are like, well, I like AI, let me just throw it into my organization. But they don't think that if the data isn't in the right place, or you have systems that are all over the place, let's say you use QuickBooks in one area, but you use a different CRM in another, and you have apps that your employees are using out in the field, and it's all fragmented, are you going to get the right outputs that you need from AI? And it's kind of like when my wife was away for the weekend, and I wanted to impress her with how clean the house would be. And I said, okay, I'm going to hire a cleaning service. I'm going to kind of like hack this. And I ended up hiring them, and I realized they're great for scrubbing out, the tubs, cleaning the baseboards, doing stuff. But when it came to picking up the place and knowing where to put things, that was on me, and that was 90% of the work. So it's like that with the AI paradox, is that if you're ready to like jump in and say, hey, I'm going to throw AI into this part of my business, you first have to really think about, is my foundation there? Is the platform that I'm going to plug it into, is it ready to make sense of the data? Is that data clean? And can I get the outputs that I need? So if you're going down the route of, I want to go and find a different SaaS tool, this is just a very high-level look at the series of events that you need to take in order to make that happen, from what is the purpose, what's the need, doing your research, getting the demos, being able to assess how well it integrates with your existing system. So again, this is more just a flow chart to be able to show you, made with whimsical from AI. It's meant to show you, these are the steps that you need to take if you are looking to implement a SaaS platform out there. Because it's not just as simple as, hey, let's go out there and get it done. Versus if you're looking to build on your own a tool or a platform out there, again, we've launched over 1,000 different applications, and every single one has been able to been deployed successfully, and they really range from industry to complexity to size. They all follow this same plan, which is, at the very beginning, you have to plan it out. It's kind of like building a custom home in a way. Is that you don't show up to the job site with hammer and nails and wood if you don't have a blueprint yet. So you need to start thinking about, what is the purpose of the platform that I'm building? What am I really trying to do? What are the users that I'm going for? What sort of integrations do I need to be able to have? Because I'm not going to build everything with custom logic. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you recreate building a payment gateway when you could use Stripe. That's just one example. And then once you've planned it out, that's when you get into the design phase. That's where you start putting together wireframes of how does the UI and the UX flow within there. And once you've done your wireframes, you put together a fully clickable prototype. We use Figma, but there are a lot of different tools that are out there for you to get the design down. And once the design is in place, that's when the development comes. And what we typically see is, the team comes in, they code it out. You have to test it as well to make sure everything works. And once everything's been built, that's the point where you polish it, you launch it, and you go into support mode. But really, you can iterate between these two. For a lot of SaaS businesses, what they ultimately want to do is get that minimum viable product, the MVP, to market as quickly as possible so that they can get users on their system, because really it's going to be the users that inform you what you want to do with your platform over time. So you get it out on the market, your users give you feedback, you add new features in there, you polish it up, you launch it, and you continue to build in that way. So this next piece is just looking at, if you are to build your own platform from the ground up, incorporating AI, this is what you can expect. And this is a pretty broad industry standard that you can see. What I will say is, if you have an existing platform and you're looking to integrate AI into your platform, don't consider this. This does not apply. It's going to be much cheaper. But if you are creating your own platform from the ground up that incorporates AI, what you could typically see is those small platforms range from about 100 to 150. Medium is usually 150 to 300, and then the large enterprise platforms, 300,000 up. And again, think about it, like how much does Salesforce put into their software? How much did Airbnb put into their software? Millions at this point. So software can get very expensive, but by and large, this is what we typically see when it comes to getting a product out the door. And if you are looking to build your own platform, what we recommend is, from your company's side, keep it consolidated to one person who's the vision for it. Because what ends up happening is, if you have 5 people all giving their input, it's too many cooks in the kitchen, and the project just slows down. And as far as like an expectation on how long it takes, what we typically see is 6 to 12 months. A month to plan, a couple months to design, the rest of the time to build and test and deploy. So one of the last things that I want to talk about are, what are we seeing clients asking for? What are some of the things that we're working on that we're seeing in the industry? And it ranges with AI in a lot of different ways. One of the first ones here, it's Everflex Health. They're based out of California, but what we built for them was a physical health platform where it's for practitioners, it's for patients. But if, let's say, you're dealing with some neck issues or wrist issues, it's able to put together, the AI is able to put together a physical therapy plan at home that you can use. And it's able to basically adapt to whatever your issues or conditions may be. So that's one in the healthcare space. What we're seeing is there's actually some really creative ideas that are out there. One app that we're currently building that we're going to be launching soon, the person here, what they were trying to do is, they were sick of how LinkedIn and Indeed handled the whole job finding process. They felt like it was too skewed towards the people that need the job. And for companies themselves, it's just really challenging to be able to find the right person and sift through application after application that don't fit the needs. So with this platform, this is using AI in a different way, where the applicants all put their credentials and their experience and their examples of work in there. And when an employer goes on and puts a position out there, the AI model picks up what the qualifications are, what they need out of the position, and picks up the candidates that best match that, and the algorithm mixes it together so that the company gets fed the right applicants and they don't have to sift through a bunch of junk. The next one, this is maybe a little bit more Black Mirror-esque. It's more for facial recognition on cameras to be able to identify the users when a certain person walks into frame, and time mark those. So there are ones that are out there that are using sort of that integration between camera and app. And then the last one that we're currently building is one that's more in the luxury insurance space. So this one's more for the analytics side that we're using AI, where for people that own luxury items, whether that's like a car, a watch, Pokemon cards now, what ends up happening is that the value of these items fluctuates so much so that it's easy to be way overinsured on a product. Like, let's say watches devalue all the time. So you end up spending way more on the coverage of that insurance. And the idea is that with this, it picks up on those trends. The AI picks up on those trends and automatically alerts the users when they've overinsured or underinsured on any of their luxury items. So that's more of a predictive analysis tool that's being built there. So it's crazy, just some of the ideas that are being thrown out there. But I think more and more and more, I'm noticing people coming with ideas on how to be able to use AI, noticing a gap in the market and saying, I want to build this and I want to be considered that de facto company in this area when it comes to AI. But really, the big takeaways here is it is becoming accessible. It's essential. I would recommend for anybody here to get into AI for their own business. And if you are, you're going to be well positioned to succeed later on down the road. And one of the things that we're doing, if you're interested, if you feel like it's going to be the right fit for your company, is that we are offering complimentary assessments on, based on your business, where can AI fit in? Are you going to be best off finding a tool that's out there? How can that fit in with what your current processes are, the current tech stack that you have? Can it fit in there well? So you're welcome to come by. I have a table right out there and be happy to set up a time for you to speak with one of the AI experts next week or the week after, however that looks. But are there any questions?
Um, so I guess how our company has been using AI so far is we've been kind of experimenting, playing with the free products out in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to a company that's doing that? I mean, is that not advised? Do you find any problems with that sort of thing?
I don't think that there's a problem with using free products out there. It's all about what you're trying to get out of it, right? If what you need out of AI can be done by free products, then by all means do that. That's what I was doing for a long time. But eventually, the use of ChatGPT within our organization just necessitated that we upgrade and we pay for a plan. And that's when we've transitioned over to it. And I think for companies, when they're thinking about, okay, do I really want to go all in on AI? It comes down again to that competitive advantage. How important is it for your organization to be able to go out to the market and say, we have our own AI, it makes us that much better than all the competitors out there? So that may take you just assessing who your main competitors are and what they're doing on that side, because if they're not doing it and you think your clients value from being able to say we're more efficient in that way, then I'd say, yeah, by all means, go for it. Take that next step.
Hi, so my question is, how can businesses measure the ROI of AI adoption in marketing, sales, or operations?
That's a really good question. So I think the ROI, it comes down to the tools that you're currently using. So like if you're using like Google Data Studios, being able to first see, okay, within there, what are some of the metrics that we're measuring it by? And then being able to say, hey, if we're gonna integrate AI into that and be able to use that, again, is it going to be good enough for us to leverage the data within our own area? So like within our own platform, can we leverage that data? Are we good to leverage some of the external data that we're getting through Google and some of the others, where we could just plug that into ChatGPT? Granted that you're not concerned about putting your data out there within, that's one concern to at least have. But I mean, that's just some ways that we're using AI to be able to better measure the ROI behind it. But I do know when we're trying to decide the ROI behind building something, it's incredibly difficult, and I would say it's nearly impossible to say what the ROI would be if you're building your own SaaS product from the ground up. You can do your market research and try to figure things out, but it's just difficult to know how many people are going to go along with your monetization plan. But if you're an existing business and you know, hey, what I'm building, it's going to make my business more efficient. I'm able to break down how much time we waste in a given day with this manual process. It's this many employees. You can calculate the ROI of that and be able to say more confidently, like, hey, if I build my own, tool around that, it will ultimately give me good ROI.
How do you think this will fit into a higher learning organization as far as institutional effectiveness?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're dealing more and more with higher education. So we work with, the School of Medicine at USC. And we work with ECU as a part of their incubator program when it comes to students and coming out with ideas and being able to build, new products that hit the market. I think it's going to be really tough to say. I feel it's higher education's responsibility to prepare the generation to be efficient, effective, and be able to use AI, because you look everywhere and it's just what the next wave is going to be. So it's almost like it's still just a tool for people to be able to leverage. So if you can teach a student to effectively leverage it coming out into the job force, that's kind of what I see higher education's responsibility as being, is just preparing the students in that way.
Good.
Okay, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Real quick, before we take this quick break, how many of you have a red ticket? How many of you do not have a red ticket? Okay, I need the people who do not have a red ticket to go visit the Visit Kinston booth out there. I need your names too. No, I'm just kidding. Just go straight to the Visit Kinston booth. I told them to cue my theme music, so they did. And also, if you were in the Visit Kinston breakout, they've got an extra shirt for you, so make sure you go get that CJAN. We'll be back here in 5 minutes. And listen, we got 2 strong speakers to close it out.
Clap along if you know what happiness